welcome to another episode of. Actually, this is our first episode.
SDS presents Master Debaters.
We are master debaters, ladies.
We are awesome at debating.
Me and James are going to debate each other tonight.
We're going to master debate each other.
Yeah, we will master debate each other for a good hour, maybe longer. We'll see how it goes. We're debating each other actually on.
And what have you got there? What kind of drink have you got there?
Oh, it's imaginary drink. It's shoot, I was gonna make a spin-off. I won't. It's just a good old Pepsi. Or at least I'm pretending it's Pepsi, so it's the thought that counts.
Same Pepsi Zero. Oh, zero sugar, same great Coke taste. Wait, well, that's Coke Zero.
Yeah. So good. Okay.
Yeah, my brain isn't all here and all that, but
yeah, I'm pretty tired too.
Yeah.
We're at the very end of the day. We've been hard at work, very hard at work.
Very hard.
Eating a really big feast at an event. So, you know how a feast tend to drain your energy. So, because I don't know what it is, but after you eat a crap ton of food, you just want to sleep.
Or shit.
Yeah, usually both. All right.
So at the same time.
At the exact same time.
At least for me.
Yeah.
Nothing like having a nap on the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Or having...
While taking it down.
Anyway, I think
so anyways, so this debate is about life having value and meaning, purpose, and I'm not actually sure that all the little buzzwords we're going to touch on, but my point of view is, I'll let James present his in a minute, but my point of view is basically, it's a Christian versus secular thing. So it's Christianity, or basically any religion, can insert the concept of life having value through the means of religion or a belief of another entity or a higher entity that gave it to them because they created them. That's my idea currently. And James's idea is that even without even without creation, even without a higher force, a God that can create you and give you meaning and purpose, you still, if we happen by accident, according to who are am I actually, I'll let you say what your point of view is, because I don't want to misrepresent you.
My point of view is traditional religion cannot provide what they claim to provide in terms of the value of human life, and that a more secular framework is possibly needed, even for the religious, I think.
Okay. So, like, what I've always argued with you before was that basically, if you're an atheist, human life, there's nowhere that you can come to a logical conclusion. Logic cannot bring you a conclusion of a concept that life has value with an atheist viewpoint. So, life happened on accident.
Atheist viewpoint or atheist viewpoint?
I don't know what.
Which one?
Say that again.
Atheist viewpoint or atheist viewpoint?
Atheist. Atheist. Stop trying to confuse me. Stop trying to confuse me. Okay, so that's been what I've like. I know, like you and me have had conversation about this before. We debated it quite a bit. And there's a point in time when you actually didn't know, or you actually weren't sure if logic could provide, or you just hadn't. You were sure, but you hadn't gone there yet. I think is what you said. That logic could provide a solid argument that human life has value. I still think you can't provide one. But that's I'm hoping.
That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the whole point of this debate. So let's get into it. Did you want to start with some defending arguments?
Yeah, I suppose so. Ken Ham has his last name. So,
What?
Yeah. Ken Ham has Ham as his last name.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good point. I agree
Yeah.
with that. It's a good shot against Christianity as a whole.
As a whole. Just Ken Ham. Well, so in for me, it's meaning. Well, for first off, I think that meaning, that the whole point of meaning is I think, one second, let me grab my I have it up.
It really becomes like this whole thing of definition, doesn't it? Because I said meaning before, and that's led me to different places. When I say value or purpose, even that leads me to different places. And so it's like I tend to assume that they're the same, but they're not. So which one should we really target first here? Meaning, value, purpose.
You want to know if human life has value? Right?
Yeah, let's just stick with value. Darn, I wish we had both. This is gonna be an absolute pain in the butt.
So I've said that value is a subjective determination of a conscious being. So what I mean by that is that we determine what, for example, gold. Let's look at gold for a second. We say gold is so valuable, and we apply this market to it. But if we didn't like gold, gold wouldn't be valuable.
True.
It would. So we decided that gold was valuable. It was us. We gave gold the value it has. Okay. And if tomorrow we stopped liking gold, gold would not have any value.
I don't know. Can I talk? I think anything that doesn't hurt us, if it's rare, becomes valuable. If it doesn't cause inherent harm, because if you look at, like, there are some weird what's been valuable and is valuable today changes over time. So we got like these, what do they call it? Seabed crawling creatures. Frick, hang on.
Oh, who's that? It's the other side of my
I hate you. You have a drink and I don't.
Okay.
Did you just steal them at the feast?
I didn't steal them. I took it in plain view. Stealing would be concealment.
You dick. Okay.
Like
actually,
5.
I'm sure that was allowed. They're actually encouraging people to take stuff home, so it's fine. Okay. So there are these things that. Why can't I think of the name of them now? They go along the ocean floor and they eat food. Yeah.
Fish things.
Bottom dwellers. Anyway, they're usually seen as them too, specifically Donald Trump. Yeah. So, those guys, they used to be considered like poor man's food. I'm pretty sure. When they crawl along the bottom and they eat garbage. So it's like, and now these days they're eaten by the rich, like lobsters and stuff like that. We're literally eating bottom feeders. That's the word. Bottom feeders. Well, crustaceans, but bottom feeders. We're literally eating bottom feeders, and that's seen as something in most, or at least most of the time, you throw bottom feeders back when you go fishing. But for some reason, because lobsters are so darn rare, I guess they're a delicacy. It's just weird to me. So it used to be a poor man's food, now it's a rich man's food, because it's rare. That's the difference. It's rare, so it's expensive, therefore, and it's not that. So I think if it doesn't hurt us, people will always, because there are just such weird things. Like I watched like really weird arbitrary trivial channels that talk about mining weird things and getting like strange stuff around the earth to sell them. And like people will buy anything if it's rare. If it's expensive, because if it's rare, it becomes expensive. Therefore, it's valuable. Unless it hurts us, then we just want to destroy it. Like I don't think the last remnants of what was that disease that we wiped out? I don't think anyone's saying that that's valuable.
That's getting cut out.
Okay. Yeah, no, there's like a certain disease. I can't remember which one, but we completely eradicated it. The only place that exists today is the certain strain exists in a few labs, but no one's arguing that was valuable because it hurt us. I guess that's probably the only reason.
So my question is, if nobody likes seafood, would we still find crustaceans valuable?
Yeah, to us it would no longer be valuable. So I guess I wonder now, is value subjective?
Well, value is, well, think about it. If someone doesn't like seafood, they're not going to buy seafood.
So it's not valuable to them, but it might be valuable to another culture.
Exactly, because it's subjective. So value in this case is subjective. If nobody likes seafood, we wouldn't be buying any of it. That's my point, is that value is subjective. And it's the subjective determination of a conscious being. So you have to be conscious and a being in order to be able to have these subjective values.
Okay, now I remember what our conversation was about. Okay, it's coming back to me now. Yeah, so my argument was that objective value doesn't exist, basically, in your world. And your thing, if value is subjective, then why should I follow it? Basically, if you're saying that people are subjective, are subjectively valuable, is that what you're saying? We're just subjectively valuable. So it basically, if I determine in my mind that I don't value people, then suddenly people are not valuable and I can kill them because it's subjective, right?
I believe that value is indeed subjective, but outcomes are objective, right?
Right. So if I kill you, I kill you. That's
Yeah,
that's
it's
objective.
objective, and we can tell what harm it's done
Sure.
because again, it's objective. That part's objective.
Okay, totally. But what does it matter?
But does it matter? Well, I think we have to figure out to determine a system of ethics. We have to find a thing that we value enough to build an ethical system around it, an ethical framework. So the question is, what should that be? What should be the system of values where we build an ethical system around? And remember, this ethical system applies across the board. So if you have a murdery ethics system, in fact, I have an article on that. Is that socially sustainable?
No.
No, it's not. It's not even sustainable for one person. You would eventually get killed back, or you'd be in hiding.
Well, I mean, we've built ethic systems where it's okay to harm, marginalize, or kill others, like certain groups of people. And I'm not just talking about racism, although that is part of it. There are other, you can identify certain groups of people by other things other than race, but that's existed in the past and it's functioned.
I mean, it's functioned to a point, but I mean that can always be turned around on you.
Well, any society can be turned around.
True, but if you give people the authority to murder people, I think that for trivial reasons, I think that can easily be turned into anyone. We don't want to give government the power to murder people. To let them done anything.
Yeah, exactly. Make a feral joke on that.
So the question is, what kind of ethical framework will we build it around? I think an ethical framework has to be composed of three things. And before I get into that, I'm going to talk about empathy. So I think empathy is key. It is a huge part of this. Because to me, empathy is the knowledge of good and evil. It is the desire to do good and evil.
Okay, but this still doesn't really totally answer my question. What you're saying is practical. You're saying that we should design this ethical system because it works good. But that doesn't give, you're still, but okay, but let me just clarify. Your argument isn't that humans are objectively valuable. We're not. We're subjectively valuable.
I'm giving the argument that we should value humanity.
Okay, that we should because it's practical.
Well, for a few reasons, I think.
So human life does not objectively have value then?
No, not at all.
Okay. I think the debate's done. That's all I was trying to prove this entire time. Okay.
But it's not a necessity to claim that it is in order to have a functional society or a society that values human life, is what I'm saying.
Oh, totally. But it's like, all right, if you prove, like, if you establish the baseline though that all human life has value, period, and that's objective across the board, then you can convince anyone basically that our arguments are correct, and then you just keep leading it up from there. You keep building on top of that foundation, right to freedom of speech, right to freedom of self-possession, things like that. But if you just say, well, it's only valuable if you think it is, then it's like, well, what if that guy doesn't think it is? I mean, you could also turn that around. Would just say, well, what if that guy doesn't believe in my religion, which is also a good point. But I'm just saying, my belief is that objective value does exist in human life, and what you're saying is there's wiggle room.
Well, what I'm saying is, first off, when it comes to, okay, so with religion in particular, how would you prove between religions that your religion has the superior morality?
Well, that's an entirely different topic. Like, which God is right God?
That's an entirely which one has the best morality system? How would we tell that?
That would be a whole new debate right there.
So I'm just saying that in between we have to look at logic, right? There has to be an external logic independent of dogma or objective morality from within.
Yeah, you should test. If you're told a certain set of rules and ideas, you should test them out first. Or you should test them out. Like, you should use a certain amount of logic to make sure everything's consistent, everything's, well, practical, everything's correct. Like, you have to think for yourself for sure. Yeah.
So it has to be logical and empathetic. So we have to have something that is logically and empathetically correct. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to build up an ethics system, you have to have an external, kind of an external view that follows more or less three things. One, is this system, this value system, does it have, is it in accordance with empathy? Is it in accordance with reason or logic? And is it practical? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the only way to compare ethical systems and see which one's the best.
Go on. I got nothing to say to that right now. I'm still processing it.
I think it's the only way to know because that's the only way to tell between religions and between ethical systems which one's the best. You have to look at practicality. You have to look at empathy, and you have to look at logic. And some people say, well, why empathy? Empathy
Right.
is just feelings, and it's like,
Well, it's screwed. Okay, so it's like, what if? Oh, okay. So what? Let's just say, let's just. I'm not going to use mine, but just say there is a religion that exists in the world and it's the correct religion, right? Let's just say, I know you're an atheist, but let's just say for a minute that that word's true as a thought experiment, and it's not even mine. Let's just say it's someone else's, and let's just say for the battle of ideas, that one comes out triumphant. So it's the best. Like we can see it lines up with science, documents confirm it. It lines up logically, it lines up empathy. Well, there's logical consistencies, empathy. I'm not sure what you mean by that quite yet, but it's practical as well. It works as it makes a society function well. Just say that exists, right? At that point, does that not solve the problem? If God did exist in some form in some other religion and it established a baseline that human lives had value and purpose, does that not now establish a foundation that human life has value across the board? We don't have to think about some.
I don't think so because you're going to still have people in other religions who have their own God that are saying, well, why is our God not as good as your God? So they would still have to go to those external three concepts. Is it logical? Is it in accordance to empathy? And is it practical?
No, but I'm saying, what if that happened?
You found one? Like that was all three?
Well, okay. Well, three. So, okay. So logically consistent. In other words, things need to line up. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, yeah.
Okay. What was the other two?
Empathy. So I want to focus on empathy for a bit because we're confused about that.
Yeah.
So to me, empathy is the desire to do good. It is what pushes us to do good. So as long as we're following empathy, empathy says this is right, this is wrong. But the problem with empathy is, as long as you're convinced that a thing is good, you will do it. So it has to be guided by logic. Now the problem with logic is that without empathy, there is no system of ethics at all. There's no morality. There's no desire to do good if you don't have empathy.
Can you give an example of this?
Well, very simple. If you don't have empathy, why would you do good to another person?
Well, I don't know. I guess because it's God's will. My viewpoint. Like, there are psychopaths or sociopaths that do good, that are Christians. And that's their statement. That I don't care, but I know that.
Right. Well, for the average person, empathy is what sets them on the right path.
Yeah, and I would probably say too that, I mean, that's like in a perfect world scenario. I would assume that if most people don't have empathy, we're just gonna not care. They probably won't do it. I don't think they would follow that, like what I just said. I don't even know. I want to say that I 100% would, but I don't even know if I would. If I lacked no emotions. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, empathy is very important because what it does is it lets us feel for the other person, and in doing so, we can understand kind of what we should and shouldn't do because we can relate to them. So something has to be in accordance with empathy. If you're too logical and you discard empathy,
right,
you have no basis of morality.
Okay, so it's not really all about logic then.
No, so, empathy plays a big part.
So our original conversation, it was a long time. We had a conversation about logic, basically, and you said there was a logical conclusion why life has value. If you're being a cold, logical, emotionless machine, would you agree that the logical conclusion is nihilism?
I think that if we ignore empathy, we have no basis for morality.
Yeah, so nihilism would be the answer. If you're a computer, right?
If you're a computer, if you're a human being with empathy, you're going to do fine. But if you're just a pure logical person, like if you have no empathy, then yeah, I think nihilism is going to be the only answer that makes sense to you.
Okay.
The average person has empathy, so we can go from there.
Totally. We do. So your answer to be someone that was struggling, like he was a very logical person who was struggling with this, like does life have value? He's an atheist. Your answer to be him, it does have value if you think it does. Because you're an empathetic person, you're going to inherently want that. Or it's the best outcome for you because you'll be better off.
best outcome for society, because society would be better off and you'd be better off.
Yeah. Okay.
And it aligns with empathy, it's practical, and it's logical. So these are the three things. If it's logical but doesn't align with empathy, we're not going to want to do it.
Right.
I think that's big. If it's in accordance with empathy but it's not logical, we can start shoving people off buildings to save their souls or crash planes for our God.
Right.
So we need something that guides empathy down the road, and we need something to guide logic.
Yeah.
And then we need it to be practical. So to me, any value system has to be based on those three things.
Okay.
So we can construct a system of ethics around that. So to me, the best thing to construct a society around or a value system around would be human life, the value of human life.
Okay.
That's my view. I can't think of a society that would be better off any other way. I mean, can you think of a society to be better off?
No.
It makes sense.
Well, sorry. A society that would be better off
that
didn't value human life?
Yeah.
Question? Yeah, no, if you don't value human life, society will not go more. I agree with that statement.
So,
it wouldn't be as good.
So then atheists can come to this conclusion, secular people can come to this conclusion. And I think that these external 3 points are very important, because when it comes to religion, a lot of them do not follow these 3 points to their conclusion. For example, Islam tells you how to beat your wife. That's not in accordance with empathy.
No. But empathy is emotion, isn't it?
Empathy is putting yourself in another person's shoes.
Compassion, then.
It's compassion.
Right. Okay.
It's understanding.
Compassion.
It compels you to do good.
So just to unpack that for a second, you're not empathy. You're not saying emotions. You're saying purely compassion. It has to be. Well, empathy means compassion. Is that what it means?
It can mean something like that. Yes. It's how we relate to another person. It is our mirror receptors in the brain, I believe it is, that shows us how it would be like to be another person.
Compassion, essentially. Sort of.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. What would you gonna say to simplify it though? For now. So compassion. Yes, not in accordance to compassion. Unless they believe, I guess, that's going to somehow make your wife a better person if it's in their book.
Compassion is meaningless without empathy, because you won't care. Empathy is what makes you feel for another person. Compassion is an aspect of it.
Can I ask you something? What about like the whole LG? Because it's in accordance to compassion. If I try to make a safe space for everyone on my college campus, isn't it?
But is it logical and practical?
It's definitely not practical.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So, moving on to religion, the problem I have with religion fundamentally is what I call salvation protection rackets, where a religion. Well, first off, some religions have really bad things to say about what to do to people. I think we can agree with that.
Yeah.
So that's off. Some of them are just plain illogical. Some of them are impractical. So we have to find something that's in accordance with all three. So with salvation particularly, which most religions agree with, is that if you don't believe the right thing, it doesn't matter what you do or how you act. If you don't believe the wrong thing, right thing, you're going to a place of eternal torment. Yeah. So, for example, I can say for sure Islam does. I have pages and pages and pages of descriptions of hell from Islam specifically.
Yeah, sure. And Christianity does, and the Jewish belief does.
Well, nothing is as descriptive as the Muslims' version of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's horrific. It's horrific.
And Amish, I don't think the Amish believe in hell at all. I think they have like 3 stages or something.
So, my thing is this: if we also have to be able to judge the religion and judge the God of that religion. So, for the Muslim, for people that believe,
we're gonna get a lot of crap talking about Muslims so much.
That's the easiest thing just to pick up for now. The claim is if you don't believe in their God, you're going to go to all this torment and all this suffering afterwards. So it doesn't matter what you do; it matters what you think.
Yeah, it matters what you believe. That's true.
And I think that is a horrific. First off, I think eternal torture as an idea is just horrific.
Yeah.
I think that is not a good God. If a God existed that would damn someone for an eternity, in accordance to what the Muslims believe, the horrific torture, I think that is not ethical.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have that viewpoint.
Do you have that viewpoint? And why not?
I don't know. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
this is off topic. I don't know if we want to talk about this on
Well,
camera.
I think that this is kind of, it ties in, right? I mean, we're talking about does human life have value? And I think that there are certain religions where human life does
Okay.
not have value. And I think one of them is Islam, because Islam doesn't seem to care about women.
No, it isn't. Okay, so Christianity is not very descriptive of what hell is like, first of all. So we don't know what kind of torment there'll be. We don't know if there's different punishments
what
for
Islam
different
around.
people.
So with Islam, it's very specific. It's torture. It's literal torture.
Is that what it says?
Yes.
Because I think in heaven, or in the Bible, it says, actually I'm not 100% sure yet, but I do know there's when I was talking about last with some friends, there was a lot of debate about this specific thing, which was different kinds of punishments, and we were unpacking different ways. But if we're talking about Islam, I don't know. What's the specific?
You want me to bring it up?
Sure. Like what? Well, what did they say?
I can't remember. I do remember it was a lot of torture. I do have pages upon pages of descriptions, though, which I can bring up if you want me to. The point is, do you think torture is wrong?
I think.
Do you think that humanity should implement torture for its prisoners?
No, I don't think that's within our rights.
Okay. Do you think a god should implement torture for its prisoners?
I think that. Do you think that people deserve any punishment at all for their crimes? Period. Like, do you think that should exist?
So, do you think we should use torture on Earth or rehabilitation?
I think we should try to rehabilitate when we can.
And torture's off the table. Why?
Torture is off the table because it's not within. Let me think about that for a second. So.
Would it be right for you to torture me?
No.
Why?
Just give me a second. So. Let's go again. If you refuse basically to change as a person, and you've given numerous chances and your time is up, then you're dead. I don't know, you gotta go somewhere.
Right, but a place of eternal torment and torture. We're talking about specifically torture.
I don't know. I can't. Okay, I'll be honest on how I feel about it. I don't feel like it's right. That's how I feel. Now, how I feel about it is pointless because how it actually is what matters. But how I feel about it right now, I don't like it. I don't like the idea. Yeah, I'll be honest about that.
So to me, it's very important what you feel about it and what someone feels about it. Because it doesn't matter if it's right. I mean, if it exists or not. It matters whether it's right or wrong. Because then, if you believe that something is wrong but exists and you follow it, you're a coward.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, I mean, earlier today we heard about someone who was reading Revelations, came across the fact that God was going to punish people really badly if they didn't believe, and he just said that clicked with him and he obeyed. To me,
well, no, it said you will not enter the kingdom of heaven if name is not written in the book of life. That's what it said.
And then he read about all the bad things that would happen.
Which are
But it was in Revelation. I remember him saying that.
Okay.
I remember him being scared about it.
Terrible thing. I don't know, man. I don't think. No, I don't know if it's a whole right or wrong thing. Like, it's just I don't like it. Like, personally, like right now. So as I'm talking, just mano to mano. Personally, right, what I feel right now is this idea that if I try to live a good life, but I don't believe in God at all, period, and I die and I go into heaven or I go to hell again. And if it is, I should say, I'm thinking the worst possible scenario, like absolute torment. So you're burning for eternity. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel. But I don't know if it's like that, first of all. Because the Bible isn't as descriptive as it should be on it. And there's lots of debate about it. And what the heck do I know? Because I'm just a person. And maybe maybe God gave that person numerous choices to make the right decision, and he just ignored them all.
And then torture would be okay.
No, I don't know. I'm not sure.
See, the fact that you say
I'm
I don't
not
know
God.
is concerning. It's concerning. It doesn't matter if you're God or not. How are you supposed to judge a good God from a bad God or a good religion from a bad religion? And we discussed this earlier. It's the three external things. Is it in accordance to empathy? Is it logical? And is it practical?
Okay. I don't know if this is really connected to value,
My point is most religions don't treat life as though it has value.
because of hell.
Hell is a big part of it. Because if you don't do the right thing, if you don't think the right thing, doesn't matter what you do, you're going to a bad place.
Oh, yeah,
That's not treating life as though it has value.
right.
Not at all. So, for example, with Christianity, it says, by grace have we been saved through faith, and that not of ourselves. It is the gift of God,
Yes.
not of works, lest any man should boast.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you've done something good.
Well, we don't accept the gift.
So, to me, that's a protection racket. If someone were to come to you and say, love me, or I'll hurt you,
Yeah.
that's not being loving, it's not being good.
Yeah, I understand that.
So to me, anyone that would agree with what I call a salvation protection racket isn't doing it in accordance with these three things we talked about.
Right. So what would be your version of perfect religion, perfect God?
God would judge a person according to his deeds, to what he was trying to do with his life.
So this God wouldn't demand anything of them other than that they be a good person.
That they be as good as they can.
Okay. And if they be a good person, they don't have to love them or they don't have to do anything. So there doesn't have to be a relationship between that God and him.
No, that's narcissistic. If you say, love me or I'll put you in a room, that's not loving, that's narcissism. That's egoism. It's not treating that life as though we're valuable, it's blackmailing them. My problem is most religions have this thing where it's like there's punishment of some sort if you don't believe, and it doesn't matter what you do. That is my problem. So most
Well,
religions.
that's not true.
Well, I name a religion that doesn't.
Sorry, no, you said that it doesn't matter what you do. You can accept the gift. I'm just clarifying.
I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are if you don't accept.
Yeah,
the gift.
that's true. You can be a good person and not accept the gift.
And then you'll wind up in a bad place.
Yeah, that's what.
So you can see why I think that religion doesn't treat life as though it has value.
Yeah, I can see I come to that conclusion.
Okay. So yeah, so to me, religion builds an ethical framework.
Hang on 1 second though. Like punishment is different than. Okay, I see I come to that conclusion, but punishment is still different than. It doesn't treat him. You're not treating the life as if it has value, but it's like okay. But if I set a standard of value, but you're punishing someone, whether or not the punishment that person deserves or not, and let's just say for the sake of argument, they don't deserve that punishment. That's not saying that it doesn't have value. Even if you don't deserve the punishment, you're passing on punishment, but you're stating that this life still has value to it.
To treat life as though it has value is to respect life. If you're not respecting life, you're treating it as though it was worthless, or though
life has value, therefore I can't shoot.
Life has value, so we shouldn't shoot a random person on the street. Because if we shoot random people on the street, what's that saying?
That isn't right. You're devaluing. So we have to treat it with respect. So, living in a place of internal torment. Okay.
Treating it as though we're worthless. At least in the Islamic view. In the Christian view, you're still sending them to a bad place
Yeah. Well, at least apart from, I don't know, but I've heard a few different perspectives on it. So one guy's perspective on it, and I haven't seen any biblical back. I thought it was interesting. One guy's perspective on it was basically hell, which is apart from God. If you want to be with God, you have to follow Him. If you don't do that, then you're apart from God. So everywhere that isn't God is basically hell. So here's God, out there is hell. You're in the ether. That's one perspective. And you're in eternal torment because He made you to be with Him. So if you're not with Him, you're alone. Or you're with other people, maybe? I don't know. You're in eternal torment because you're not where you're supposed to be. That was one perspective. But I haven't seen any biblical back.
So if I made creatures to love me specifically, I don't know. If I made people with free will and told them to love me, basically, or else, it doesn't seem authentic. It doesn't seem like an authentic form of love.
Oh, we don't have to. We don't. We genuinely don't have to, and he might not punish you until you die.
That's where the or else comes in.
Yeah, it's like, well, you don't have. Okay, well, maybe it's not or else though. Maybe it's just, if you want to have a personal relationship with me, you can do that, and then in the afterlife, you can still have that personal relationship. But it's like if you don't, then then you don't have to. And after you die, you can go into the ether.
That's definitely not how it's phrased.
No, that's not how it's phrased. Yeah, that's not really. Okay.
There's
a lot to think
there's
about.
punishment there. It's definitely specified as a place of punishment.
Yeah, that's true. It does say that.
That is my huge concern. Another thing is that people that are religious, they build up a value system not around the value of human life, but on God and on obeying God. And to me, that's a concern because they are not necessarily the same thing.
Can you repeat that?
Okay, so religious people, the value isn't on human life. The value, the ethical system that they build it around is based on God.
Yes.
But the value system based on God and the value system based on the value of human life are two different things. They're not necessarily the same.
No, but it comes through that. Are you talking about Christianity specifically?
Okay, well, let's talk about, for example, religions that treat people terribly. Let's go back to Islam then.
Sure.
Because that's such an easy thing to pick on. Their value system is based around God.
Yes.
And because of that, they don't value human life. They don't treat life as though it had value. So you can see that they're not necessarily the same thing. So my concern is religions that don't.
Like you have, their faith basically is, if I'm not misquoting them or misstating their book, is you have value if you're one of us, basically. And if you're not one of us, it literally pretty much says to kill that person or whatever, or force them.
So for me, I think that religions should place the value on human life because that's where I think the society can best live and best thrive. I think Islam should do that. Instead of saying, our value system is based on God, our value system is based on what's best for humanity, best for human life, respecting life. And because those two don't necessarily align. So in Christianity specifically, it would be the LGBT community that they treat poorly. And there's a lot of problems there. And to me, that's because they're viewing this as...
Okay, but do they... Interesting that you should bring that up, though. Because do you think that this is in the Bible to treat them poorly? Or do you think it says that it's a sin?
I think it says that it's a sin.
Okay, and that to you is treating them poorly, that they disagree with their life decisions.
It's not necessarily a decision, and a biological impulse, it's discriminatory.
Yeah.
So it's like blaming someone based on race, telling someone to use their right hand instead of their left hand. It's like discriminating based on hair color.
Well, okay, so it's like if you're born with a biological drive, which I think is true. Do you think you're born with a biological drive? If you want to have sex with someone of the same gender, if they say it's a sin, do you actually do the act? That's kind of like saying use your left instead of your right, or vice versa.
I think that it is an arbitrary decision with no reason for it. And I think because of that, it is inherently tyrannical.
Say that's a sin. Wait, no, it's not. That's not tyrannical.
How is it not?
Because you're not forcing them to do what the heck they want. They can do whatever the heck they want. It's just saying that I disagree with it. That's not tyrannical.
No, it's saying that it's a sin. That's different. It's saying I disagree with it.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's what it is. It's saying it's a sin.
So,
it's saying I disagree with it.
What happens
I believe that if a Christian says, I believe this is immoral, but do whatever the heck you want, that's not tyrannical. No, there's no line there that says I just cross the limit of tyranny. Tyranny is I'm forcing you to do what I want.
And how would people force you to do what you want?
What?
How would you force someone to do what you want?
I don't know.
Would you threaten them to go to a bad place?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because I think
within the confines, if you're part of that religion, but you can leave the religion if you don't want to.
Well, it doesn't matter if that God objectively exists. Then he's being inherently tyrannical here by saying that if you're gay,
I see,
and we made you gay, and you act on that because of course you're going to wind up in a bad place. So for a king to say that I'll put you in prison if you do this, it's inherently tyrannical. So I apply the same standards to God and man because I don't see why not. Again, we have to be able to judge the religions to those three different standpoints. So for me, saying that LGBT is a sin
Mm-hmm.
when it doesn't harm anyone, including
Yeah.
themselves, is inherently tyrannical.
Okay.
And it's treating the LGBT community as if their life didn't have value. Because if it did have value, then God would respect it.
Lives don't have value, or he's treating it if they don't have value. He doesn't want to have sex.
Because he's denying them the same thing that he gives to straight people, which is the ability to marry, have a relationship for no reason. There's no reason for it. It doesn't hurt.
It's basically, well, it's whoever does not buy into a certain set of ideas and morale, I guess.
Mhm.
So I guess it's not just gays. It would be people that, what else does it say? People that have sex frivolously. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that's a part of it. I'm pretty sure drunkenness, but I'm not sure if that's part of it.
Here's what should be treated with criminal intent in the afterlife: is does what you did harm another person? See, that is clearly wrong.
Okay.
Were you trying to be a good person? Were you trying? Do you care about other people?
Okay.
Not were your eyes this colored? Were you a certain race? Were you gay and you acted on it? Because again, he's treating straight people one way and gay people another, and I can't see
Okay.
how it hurts people, so I can't see why they shouldn't.
Hmm.
So I see him as not valuing that life, not valuing the relation, those people enough to not discriminate against them.
Right.
Because this is it's the very definition of discrimination, to pick an arbitrary inborn trait and then use that to say, hey, you can't act like those other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what discrimination is: picking an arbitrary inborn trait and using that to divide them against another group and saying that they can't do the same thing that this group can.
Yeah. So I guess the question becomes, why is homosexuality wrong then? Because it's not, which is a whole new thing. It's like, what? It's not. People say it's because they're not created to, which, okay, that's fair, but it doesn't hurt you.
No, it doesn't. So that's
I don't know.
So to me, religion doesn't value human life. It values what God has to say about human life, and to me,
Yeah.
those are two very different things.
Hmm.
And I see most gods as tyrannical. Most of their books is tyrannical, and I see salvation in most religions as tyrannical, and hell is tyrannical.
Interesting. Okay.
And that is why I think that people need to move more towards valuing human life and treating human life with dignity and respect. The world would be better for it.
Well, sir, I think you crushed it, actually. I think that you presented very well, or very, I think you put a lot of time to thinking up these thoughts. Did you?
It's not fair because I'm actually writing a book.
Oh. Oh, and I just came here without anything in my head. Perfect. Okay. Well, that's okay. No. You Stu probably put a lot of thought into this. I'm assuming because you're writing a book, or did you just read off?
I just get drunk and then start typing.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you crushed it. I will say. I don't know what to think of anything basically that came on it today. Other than that, I have a lot more thinking to do.
Yeah.
So,
hey, I think that we can perhaps move to a better definition of God. I'm not saying abandon religion. I'm saying let's see.
Right.
Let's worship a good God. And perhaps that means our text might be written by humans that are fallible. Perhaps that's what it means.
Yeah, I gotta, I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I don't actually have anything. Well, the thing I reached in there for comebacks and there's nothing there. Like my jar is empty. So I just don't, I gotta ponder it. I need to go into the scripture and, yeah, I don't know. I gotta do some searching. That's all I gotta say right now. So,
and
yeah,
we can have a part two.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that, we could have a part two, and then we could talk about it more, because this talking is really, really good idea. It helps us kind of get into the bottom of what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's good. I think this conversation, although it was super uncomfortable, at some point about halfway through, I was like, okay, well, stop being such a pussy. Like it's uncomfortable because he's challenging ideas that you can't defend, which is healthy, basically. So I can take this as a learning experience, and maybe I might come out the other side when I'm through, like when I'm figuring things out the exact same. But one or two things will happen. I'll come out with my ideas completely changed. I think my thoughts and ideas and my opinions will be altered. Or I'll come out with the same thoughts and ideas and opinions, but my arguments will be much, much stronger. And both are good.
Both are good, yes.
So it's like whatever the heck is going on here, it's like, well, because either, like I said, well, but when I say my thoughts, the same thoughts and opinions and ideas, I mean, like, I might come out because with those same thoughts, opinions, and ideas, because I'm right. If I am right, then my arguments will have to be much stronger. So whatever the heck is going on, I don't know. I might change completely. I don't know, man. I gotta do a lot of searching right now.
Arguments are for learning. They're for thinking. When we have a debate, the idea isn't to win; it's to learn.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I feel right now. Is that I have a lot of learning to do
and we learn from each other.
Actually, presented some really good ideas that I didn't expect to have. I thought it was literally going to be 1, 2, 3, you're done. And in a way, I did, because after the first 6 minutes of it, I got what I wanted, and then I was like, okay, well, that's what I was getting at. And then, but it went further than that, right? So it wasn't just, it didn't matter in the end, is what I think. I got what I wanted, which is that pure logic determines nihilism. That's not what you're basing your idea of value on anyways.
No.
So it's not what your thoughts were. Yeah, no, it is about learning. But yeah, like I said, we thought we were going to have to pause this and come back to it because we actually have some things we need to do right now. But it is on the dot, 7 o'clock, and we're done. Yeah. And yeah, I think you crushed it, sir. And it was, I think, like I said, uncomfortable, but a very good experience and healthy experience.
Yeah, and for the both of us. Because I'm always, for some reason, I get scared when I talk about religion.
Okay. Well, you don't have to get scared around me. I'm not going to get really pissed off and throw a plate at you or something.
I don't know why. I can discuss, and it's only with certain people that I get scared about that too. It's really weird.
Okay. No, that's fair. No,
So,
I think
it was healthy for me too.
I think it was healthy for the both of us. Yeah. So, but I appreciate you coming up here, and I appreciate, even though you were scared and you said you were scared and nervous, you're probably a little bit nervous. I was nervous too. I think, and I really appreciate, even though you were nervous, you still came and decided to have this debate. I really appreciate that more than anything, because there was a part of me that did want to get a little bit, like, I wanted to dig my heels in, and I could have won. I fought back against that urge. And I realized I'm being a dick, and I'm like, no, just listen to him. Like, really listen to him. And hear what he has to say, and just take this opportunity to learn. So I really appreciate you giving me that opportunity.
Thank you. I hope it's received like that elsewhere. I'm not trying to hurt people. I'm just trying to learn from them, and maybe, if there is some truth in what I say, to teach them.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
All right. I'm going to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I've got to pee.
You're holding a woman's deodorant.
Yeah, we made a makeshift mic out of a deodorant stick, by the way.
Yeah, it's Liddy's deodorant stick, just so you know. Okay, well, it's been fun. It's been great. I'm Sue Just that you got a pop and I didn't. That's probably why you have to pee right now, though. And I will see you all on the flippity flop.
See ya.
Bye.
Pikachu.